Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lisa Martelli, and I welcome you to Fabrica Creative Labs. Before introducing our lecturer today, I would like to tell you briefly about Fabrica. Fabrica is the communication research center based in Italy and created in 1994 out of an idea of the Italian entrepreneur Mr. Luciano Benetton and photographer Oliviero Toscani. The aim of Fabrica has always been that of collecting creative minds from all over the world and hosting them in this amazing architecture created by the Japanese architect Tadao Ando. In Fabrica, our researchers, eclectic brains and super minds, can make research on projects in different fields in communication, going from design to graphic, photography to video, music, advertising, creative writings. And it is exactly in 2000, in early times, that today's lecturer came to Fabrica. She was joining the design department, focusing on fashion design. After spending her residency in Fabrica, she eventually moved to Milano, where she deeply entered the fashion system. And probably there, she understood that this was her hit. So when she was back in her homeland in London, she decided to start collaborating with fashion magazine, lifestyle magazine, and eventually she understood that it was high time for her to start with her own brands. So before introducing today's lecture, I would like to remind you that you can join the conversation with our lecturer and with us by posting questions in the Q&A section and also on Facebook where we are streaming now. So ladies and gentlemen, I would love to introduce you to Deborah Latouche. Ciao, Deborah.
Ciao. Hi, everybody. Oh, great pants. I love your pants.
Thank you.
Lisa is wearing SABIRAH. Thank you so much. They look
Thanks
fantastic on
for
you.
joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm really, really happy to be here.
Thanks to you for joining us.
So I wanted to start this lecture by first of all thanking Lisa and Fabrica for having me, but also to kind of give you an idea of what it is that I am going to be doing. So share. So when Lisa originally asked me to do this lecture, I kind of said, oh my God, what do you mean? What am I going to do? What am I going to say? I don't know. I decided that it would be called A Little Bit of Me and a Little Bit of SABIRAH, because it was really about my journey through fashion. So, and it's been really interesting actually, collecting all of the information and collecting all of the things, which is many years of all of my creative work. It's actually been quite a journey. It was quite emotional to me as well. And so who is Deborah Latouche? And I think that that is hopefully what you're going to see through this lecture. And but what it really is about is how I navigated through the fashion industry. And to, as it says, bear in mind that I didn't know anybody who was in the fashion industry. I came from a family of non-creatives who really didn't understand anything about the fashion industry, and to a certain extent to today still don't really. And so as you can imagine, I was a little bit the black sheep of the family, wanting to go into fashion, wanting to be creative, and I really had to learn everything myself, learn it by doing, learning by doing. And I think that, you know, anybody who is in that position, who doesn't have an auntie or an uncle or a cousin or a brother or even a parent that is within the creative environment or within the creative industries or in fashion, that's kind of what you're going to have to do. And it's not a bad thing. I think that it's really important that you seize every opportunity that comes to you, even if it's not your initial pathway or the initial pathway that you thought you were going to take, but to embrace it and to take that opportunity and run with it, and be eager to learn new things, different things, to see outside the box, to want to expand your mind continuously. And I feel that as creatives, that's what we do anyway. We're always learning, always thinking about new things, different ways, collaborating with different people, and wanting to expand continuously upon what it is that we do. Also, I think what if you were to speak with other creatives, you'd see that in fashion, there is no one way within which to get into the fashion industry. Everybody's journey is different, and yours will be too. And that's not bad. I think that, especially when you're younger, you do want to always compare yourself with others, and you kind of see other people and you think, well, they got this job here and they did that there, and I'm still, trying this, and you can't, you're continuously comparing yourself. And I interviewed a young designer once, Ryan Lowe, a British-based designer, and one of my questions to him was, what would be your advice to your younger self or to a fashion student? And he said to me, comparison is the thief of joy. And that is so true. When you compare yourself to other people, you belittle what you've done, and you take that joy away from what you have actually achieved. And I think it's really important that you understand that all of the experiences that you go through in life and that you go through within your career are what make you unique and enable you to bring something interesting to the table. So my fashion journey started off at London College of Fashion. Yes, that's me. As I said, it's been a journey for me. I've literally gone around digging out all old photos and things, and I came across my old LCF card, which was amazing. I was like, oh gosh, I've got to put this in. So I went to London College of Fashion, and it was at my graduation party that I was introduced by my course director to somebody who was from Fabrica, who came to basically interview potentials for the fashion department at Fabrica. And she said to me, oh, I think you should try for this. I think it'd be good for you. And I met a young gentleman called Anthony Keegan, and had an interview, a great interview with him, and was invited over to Fabrica. You do a 2-week trial, so I went to Fabrica for a 2-week trial. And it was at this 2-week trial I went with another person from my college called Eleni Sakalaris, and we went for this 2-week trial, and we happened to be there when it was the grand opening of Fabrica. So this amazing new building had been, built by Tadeo Ando, and we were in the midst of, all the furore that was going on because there was this massive opening happening, and we were completely blown away by first of all the building alone, and then also by what the opportunities were that were there. The amount of amazing projects that you could do. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find any of that work, or it's in my basement. And but anyway, we worked with amazing people. We did projects with Martin Parr. Anna Fox came over. We did a project and a lecture with her, Mariscal. And my first project there, which really kind of took me aback, was to design furniture for the Salon de Marbelair. So I'd previously spent 3 years doing a degree, and previous to that, another year doing a foundation to become a fashion designer. And I got into this space and I was asked to make furniture. And you could imagine a young Deborah was kind of like, what do you mean you want me to make furniture? I'm a fashion designer. So I eventually embraced it, of course, and it was a great experience, because at Fabrica you got to explore so many different types of creativity, and you were pushed by 25, 30 amazing people from all over the world. And you would have debates about whether work was good or not good, or what we should be doing next, and it was incredibly vibrant. And so, although I haven't found any of the work, I do think that one of the things which I think is actually key to Fabrica, and once you move on from there, you really do realize, is what the real value is the lifelong friends that you make when you are there. And I've had, I've been blessed to really know and to keep in contact with amazing people who are doing fantastic things all over the world. Because we came from all over the world, and we end up in different places, or maybe we've gone back home, but we end up connected. We are connected by this space and this place. And I think that all of us probably really understood that when one of our year, maybe you call it, passed away, Takuya, and it really hit a nerve with all of us. And I actually was quite overwhelmed by how emotional I got over it. So this was back in the day. And then a few years ago, we had a Fabrica reunion, where we all got together, all of the creatives that had previously been at Fabrica, and it was amazing. And I managed to photobomb Mr. Benetton, which was great. So then after Fabrica, I then moved to Milan. So I'd spent a year at Fabrica learning lots of different things, and then I decided to stay in Italy and go to where the fashion was at, because I'd spent a year doing everything other than fashion, or learning lots of different skills, and I wanted to kind of explore the fashion environment a lot more. And Milan was amazing. And Milan still, as I said, I went to go and do fashion there. I worked with one fashion designer who was an amazing designer called Carol Christian Pole, menswear designer. I always referred to him as like the Margiela of Milan. I'm sorry if you guys can hear lots of noise. Everyone's decided to cut their hedges. And so I worked for Carol Christian Pole for a year. I would also make things. I would make a lot of clothing and work with photographers. I would rope them into kind of doing shoots with me. I'd make stuff and go, we should shoot this, we should do that. And we would do stuff like that. It was great. And I also went into print design and illustration. I was always really busy in Italy, just exploring all different avenues. I had the opportunity to basically learn and work in a print studio in Como. And I ended up, really loving print design, really loving illustration. And I started getting commissioned for my work. I was very fortunate to meet a lovely lady who's a very dear friend of mine still now, called Luisa Simonetto. And Luisa worked at El Italia, and she loved my stuff. She invited me to her offices, and loved what all the colors and everything that I was producing and showing her. And then she started commissioning me for the tendency pages for El Italy. So here you can see there was a tendency for aliens. And then on the other page, you see there was another one for cars. And so you see the t-shirts there. And then one day she said to me, oh, well, I'm going to be doing a page on jewelry, which is made out of fabric. Can you make me something? And so, yeah, of course, I can make you something, I'd never made jewelry before, but, we can make jewelry. And so I don't know if you can see here on the left-hand side, I made this necklace, which was printed first of all, and then I put it all together and made it into this really lovely necklace. The color is a bit desaturated on this image, but what I found amazing when I opened the page was that my necklace was next to Chanel and Prada. It was in between Chanel and Prada. So that for me, as a young creative, was like, oh my God. I had lots of oh my God moments. Another one was on the other page when a few months later, or whenever they wanted to write an article about my illustrative work and the fact that I used to paint and draw on walls. And again, when I opened the magazine and saw that my illustration was on the contents page, that was a great thing for me as well. I had a fantastic time in Italy, but after 4 years, I felt that it was time for me to go back home. So because I'd been working so heavily in print, I managed to get a job with a print studio here in London. It was in South London, and it was a very, very different atmosphere in the UK than it was in Italy. The studio was really quiet. I found it so bizarre that it was so quiet, and everybody just kind of was getting on with their work. There was no community spirit. It didn't feel like people were kind of learning off each other. I mean, I'd had this really amazing creative time in Italy, and I'd kind of come back to the UK and it was very strict and rigid. I mean, I don't know if it was like that in other studios, but it was in this one. And so I was on a trial there for like 6 months. I think that I lasted about 4 before they sacked me. And I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? So these were some of my prints that I produced. I really loved print design. I loved doing it, and it was great. But of course, I got sacked from this job, which was actually a blessing in disguise, because then I went back to Italy and I had a lunch with Louisa, and she said to me, Deborah, we need somebody in London, to be our UK corresponding editor. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, of course, why would I not? And at that point, of course, I hadn't written since my A-levels. I never thought of myself as a great writer, but I was up for the job. And that's what I mean about the learning, seizing opportunities. You just have to go with it. So what I did, because obviously I felt that I didn't have the knowledge to be able to really deliver a great article, I enrolled back at London College of Communication, it was actually, and I did a course in journalism. And it was a really good course, actually. I think it was just in the evenings that I did it for, a few months. And while I was on this course, I was getting calls to interview different people. And, I remember distinctly that one evening I had, the lesson was actually about interviewing people and how you do it, blah, blah, blah. And then I actually got a call, Deborah, we need you to interview Basso and Brooke, or we need you to interview Stella McCartney, or we need you to interview somebody, can you go and do it? And because I'd done the course, I had the confidence, I felt like I could. Whereas if I hadn't have done it, I think I would have, felt very, very out of water. So I think it's really important to go back, to seize opportunities, then figure out how you're going to actually deliver on them. And so this was part of my this is a very small amount of some of the interviews that I did. Some of them are the newer ones, and some of them were, are the older pieces that I wrote. And one of the ones that I sort of came across and I completely actually forgot about while I was putting this together was this interview, which wasn't an interview, it was actually something to Isabella Blow. She had died a few weeks before, and I felt that she was just such an amazing figure, such a fashion icon, a British fashion icon, and that she really kind of needed to be celebrated in Italy. And I realized that I was given quite a nice few pages here for her, and so that was really beautiful. And then, while in London, I moved on. I became the fashion editor for Freestyle magazine. I decided to kind of basically moved on much more into styling, and the styling kind of really came about because, and I went more and more into it because I was getting paid, and I was getting paid well to style people, to style celebrities, I was getting all of these jobs, and they were great. And I was also with Elle doing the journalism and going to Fashion Week and meeting great people, and so that one thing with Elle to have to become the UK correspondent editor led on to so many different things. It led on to having been able to have great opportunities with the PRs to be able to build connections with people. And I think that through fashion, that is a key thing, is to be nice and to build really a nice network, and to have your little tribe of people that you can rely on, that you can talk to, that you can confide in. And I have to also just kind of let you guys know that this Deborah Latouche, this logo, was actually done by Kika and Eleni, who I was at Fabrica with. So that's the kind of circle again of what you see. And this is many years later. So as I said, I moved into styling, and did menswear, women's wear, celebrity, and I really love styling. I love the fantasy that can come from it, the collaboration with photographers, hair and makeup, and the model, of course, as well. I mean, if you have a great model can turn around a shoot and just make it fabulous. And so I worked as well for the Sunday Times. I've always been a freelancer. So since getting sacked from the print studio after coming back to London, I kind of realized that I guess I'm just a freelancer. I like being my own boss. And also as a stylist, as a journalist, you get to meet different people all the time. You work with different teams, you work with different crews, and I really loved that. I love people, so it worked for me. So we've got a little bit more styling work here. The black and white images were with Jason McGlade, who is ex-Fabricanti as well. And I love color and drama, and with editorial you're able to execute that. Obviously with celebrity maybe not so much, but with editorial, which is I guess my first love, you're able to, I work as a creative director within that as well. So I will come up with the mood boards, with the ideas, think of locations, and then collaborate with the photographer and the hair and makeup to realize the vision that, I have and that we can create together. So yeah. A little bit more of editorial and celebrity. I've worked with Eve Naomi Harris, and I can't remember her name, which is really terrible. Okay. And then this was one of my recent shoots that I did for Blanc magazine. And in the middle here, you can see that I actually put in a piece of my own clothing. So yeah, and so although I absolutely still really love styling. After what, 12 years, of styling and journalism and kind of this mixed bag. I really felt it was time in 2019 to go back to design and to fulfill what had been a dream of mine, I suppose, for many years. I'd been thinking about, and I basically launched SABIRAH, and I'd been thinking about doing SABIRAH, having my own brand for about 3 or 4 years, and kind of procrastinated on it. It was almost like I didn't really have the courage to go forward with it and to do it. And in 2020 or 2019 was when I put all the work together. And again, this logo was done by my ladies, Eleni and Kika. Basically decided that I wanted to start this modest wear brand. I've worked in fashion for many, many years. I became a Muslim about 14 years ago. And I'd always found it really difficult to, especially early on, to find clothing which was fashionable yet modest, you know, in that it met the requirements for my religion. And, you know, so I'd been thinking about SABIRAH, and I knew it was going to be called SABIRAH because SABIRAH is my Muslim name. And I'd been thinking about it and wanting to do it. And I'd been telling, you know, people within, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. You know, I remember distinctly kind of talking about it for about 3 years. And then finally got the courage, put it all together, started working on it frantically from, I think it was October 2019. I worked with pattern cutters and seamstresses, and these are the toiles that we did of the initial pieces that I made for SABIRAH. And you know, I put together my little team. You know, I wanted to have amazing seamstresses, you know, who only work on the best shows. And also great pattern cutters. You know, my pattern cutter is one lady that, you know, used to be at Oswald Boateng, and my seamstresses were like Vivienne Westwood, and, you know, so, and now everybody's a freelancer, and part of SABIRAH is really supporting these freelancers and communities and working with people that are, you know, in the UK and can really deliver and have great skills. So it started off with the toiles, and then, you know, I had to find a location and I had to do all these different things. And I had my one of my friends, one of my oldest school friends, Donna, who was the first person I actually told that I was going to be doing this, doing SABIRAH. And she became kind of like my backbone and the person that I could rely on throughout this process. And it was great. And we found a location, and we, you know, put together an amazing show. I worked with, this was my team down here on the right. And what was amazing was that I kind of realized the amount of people that I knew, or, you know, I was able to pull in such amazing resources. So I really wanted plaits. I wanted the models to have plaits in their hair. And so I asked an amazing hairstylist, Effie Davies, to do the hair for me. And little did I know that she was, you know, I think she's one of the creative directors for Tony and Guy. So not only did she come, but she came with a whole crew of Tony and Guy people. And we got the shoes from Rupert Sanderson, and, you know, we got sponsored by, you know, Tony and Guy also sponsored and gave like products for the goodie bags. And it really turned into an amazing thing. What was, you know, something that I'd procrastinated over for ages. So people, don't procrastinate. If you want to do something, do it. Go for it, because you just never know what's going to happen, where life's going to lead you. you know, it was really, I think for me, SABIRAH was starting SABIRAH, and especially the launch of it was really an amazing experience. So that's why that picture that everybody's seen with, you know, a bit of me and a bit of SABIRAH, I look kind of like bedazzled in it. So yeah, that was amazing. And this was the ladies, and this is the lookbook that we created after the show. Yeah, and so this was one of the main pieces. So all the fabrics are end of life fabrics, which are sourced mostly in the UK and also Italy. The wools are UK, and the sort of specials and silks are Italy. And it was really important to me that you know, first of all, it's modest wear, and that it was diverse. That, you know, we had a diverse casting, that we had people from all walks of life. We had a larger model, we had a Muslim girl, obviously in hijab. And, you know, we really wanted it to, you know, this first image for me is that's my girl gang. That's what I call it. It's like the SABIRAH girl gang. And yeah, it was really important that we had a mixed bag, you know, beautiful tailoring. Again, these are the sort of signature pleating of SABIRAH. And that we also had, you know, different sizes of women come in all different shapes and sizes. So I feel like I've been speaking forever. So I wanted to also show you the video of collection 1.1. So that was collection 1. As you all know, then we went on to, in March 2020, we had COVID. So as a designer, as a person, you know, who had just launched their new fashion line, I was completely devastated at the beginning. Completely devastated. Like, you know, what do you mean? We have to stay in our houses. What is going on? The world is shut down. And then in September 2020, I decided to, you know, I was going to carry on. At the end of the day, I had given so much of myself to this brand. I had invested so much into this brand, both financially and emotionally. And it was really important that, you know, I carried on with it. And so in September 2020 at London Fashion Week, we presented this film. Everybody can see this. Start it back at the beginning. Sorry guys, I think I went a bit wrong there. that was my little presentation. I do have another film which I'd love to also show you, which was the film which I did for February, just gone, February 2021. If I can find that. Okay, let's see. This was a very different film, very dark. It was about emotions and the emotions that we had gone through during COVID. Okay, so I think that's it. I mean, as I said, I just really think that it's important that everybody realizes that their journey is different. And with SABIRAH, it's been a very interesting journey. Obviously, we still have COVID in the mix. But, you know, I'm still here to seize every opportunity and to move forward with it. The brand has done very well. We've received great press and, you know, a great response from the fashion industry and even further forward. And I'd like to kind of just, say that if anybody has any dreams of doing anything, that they really just have to go for it. And regardless of what obstacles might come in your way, still just go for it and try your hardest. There's always going to be people who will criticize you or who may not like what you do, and that's also fine. At the end of the day, there are always going to be people who like and don't like what you do. And I think so long as you put your heart and your soul into whatever it is that you do, and you do it to the best of your ability, then whatever anybody says to you, it doesn't matter. So I think on that note, we can go back to Lisa.
See, Deborah. We, in Fabrica, all women are dying for your dresses and your
Oh,
creation,
wow,
and
fabulous.
probably all girls around the world.
Well,
Very,
just, www.sabirah.co.uk.
this is a very good marketing operation. Well done.
Hit me up.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you. It was really inspiring. So we have some questions, although
Okay.
we may say that in your explanation, partly you reply already to some of the questions, but
Okay.
it's correct that I do that.
Okay.
So Jackie Malone is asking, what
Oh,
was the
Jackie. Hi, Jackie. Nice to have you on.
so what was the turning point, the moment that you gave the courage to launch SABIRAH? And then there is another question from Jackie too. Was
Okay.
there an individual incident that you can recall that definitely ended in procrastination you mentioned?
I actually went on a course. I did the landmark, and that basically allowed me to stop the procrastination, to release what it was that whatever it was that what the reasons were that I was procrastinating. It was quite a journey to get to that point, but the landmark is like a self-help, do you call them that, course that you go on, which kind of just enlightens all different areas of your life. And when I went on it, that was my reasoning for going on the course, was because I wanted to start my brand, and then like a year and a half later I still hadn't started it, and then I did this other course on the landmark, and it was like, yes, I'm gonna do it. And yeah, it's really freeing. It's really freeing to kind of just go for it and to just do whatever it is that you've been thinking about doing, and to realize your own potential. I think it's really important. And what's the next one?
Next one is from Cimino, and he asks, Ciao Deborah, wonderful lecture. When you first imagined and launched SABIRAH, your intention was to target Muslim women as customer, or SABIRAH is a style intended to be worn from anyone out of religion belief? You have customers who buy your clothes who are not Muslim. If so, what is the percentage?
So SABIRAH is for everybody. It's modest wear for all. Obviously, I'm a Muslim woman, and certain things within the brand, like design wise, are designed in such a way that they're designed like that for Muslim women. So, for example, there's a longer placket on a shirt sleeve, for example, so that you can easily turn up your sleeves on a shirt, on a dress. There's always going to be buttons and enable you to roll up your sleeve so that you can perform wudu, which is what Muslims do before they pray. But that's not going to affect or have any effect on anybody who's not Muslim from buying the pieces. But those are like kind of my behind the scenes thoughts and processes, which make it cater for Muslim women, but it's absolutely for everybody. And that is what I hoped that I kind of came across through especially the launch of SABIRAH, where you had 8 women who were all very different, and different sizes, different colors, different hair textures. It's really for everybody. The percentage of non-Muslim and Muslim, I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into that. But I have a great following from women and men who are both Muslim and non-Muslim. So I think for me, it's of course it's driven by my religion, but it's something that I really am happy that everybody is embracing.
Next one is from Alessia. What's one of the biggest challenges you had to overcome during your journey in the fashion world?
Oh, the biggest obstacle, I think it's rejection. I think when you get rejected, that's quite a big obstacle to overcome. And I think what I was saying, I think it, the whole idea, or as I said at the end, of different people having different comments on what you do. And I think it really takes you a while to not be affected by people's criticism of whatever it is that you do. Criticism now doesn't really bother me. It hasn't bothered me for a really long time, because I'm in that mindset of, everybody's got an opinion when it comes to creativity, but I still find rejection quite difficult. So if you go for, a certain job or, something, and you don't get it, it's still kind of, oh, come on, I was the best person. What are you talking about? So I still find that a little bit difficult.
Next one. How did your experience at Fabrica affect your path and ultimately your artistic vision?
Oh, I think Fabrica's changed a lot of things. Fabrica in Italy. So before I went to Fabrica, I wanted to be a fashion designer, and that was all. I was going to be a fashion designer. And Fabrica just opened my mind to the world of creativity. As I said, my first project was to design furniture for the Salone di Mobile. I didn't even know what the Salone di Mobile was before I got to Fabrica. And when, and I didn't really understand the magnitude of it until I actually ended up in Milan with my project there, and kind of realized and saw that the all the journalists and all the people that were around and surrounded by this. So I really feel that it was Fabrica that opened my eyes to different ways of thinking. I really, my mind went out of the box there.
We have 3 more. Actually, there are several questions arriving. So,
oh, great.
More.
Okay.
Yeah. So one is from Lorenzo Berni. How Brexit has affected you? Do you foresee your business in London, or do you plan to relocate?
No, I don't. I really doubt that I'm going to relocate. I was really saddened by Brexit. I mean, it's just made things difficult. I mean, you've got Brexit and COVID both together. So it has made things really difficult. I've kind of decided I'd always kind of thought that it was going to stay mostly in the UK anyway, in terms of production and stuff. But that's for sure happening now. I still really love Italian fabrics, so I'm going to have to still be going to Italy and still kind of getting fabrics and paying much more money for them than I did before. But yeah, Brexit is a sad thing for me. So I find it very difficult, obviously, because I'd had this whole Italian experience. I also lived in Berlin for a while as well. And so I had this freedom of movement, which for me is really difficult, even as a stylist now. The difficulty to, before we could just get some flights and go off to Spain and shoot something. Now there's a whole load of paperwork that you have to do to enable you to do that. So yeah, it's made life difficult, that's for sure. But you just got to find ways to get around it, I guess.
Franca Pauli is asking, hi Debs.
Okay, Franca.
I loved your presentation.
Thank
the
you.
videos are amazing. I'm currently starting an upcycling project, and I wonder how hard and complicated it is to go from the creative production process to the actual fashion system through presentation, fashion weeks, magazine, etc. For a creative that's never actually worked in fashion. Much love.
Okay, so for me, that process actually, because I have worked in the fashion system for a really long time, I found it easy. I already had the connections. As I said, my friend who I asked to do the hair all of a sudden had a whole crew of Tony and Guy coming along as well. So that process of taking it from kind of like your initial idea into, getting into the system is, I guess I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to answer that because I'm in the system. So for me, that was the easy part, actually, to be able to do that. But it's definitely a lot of hard work, though. Don't get me wrong. You've got to be on the ball. You've got to, know your stuff. I did actually, when I first went to Milan, I did work for it was a shop called Tim Camino. and there we did upcycling, and it did really well actually in Italy and in Milan. So what might be a good thing for you to do is just kind of make your pieces and see how they sell, see if people buy them, because I'm assuming you're doing them all yourself and making all the pieces yourself. So the best thing to do would be to, you know, to make them, maybe get like a little website and put them on there and sell them to people, start off with your friends and stuff, and kind of go on from there, and then see how that grows and how that moves forward. I think that would be a really great way. But, you know, hit me up with an email, Franca.
Thanks. Last question is from one of our students in Fabrica, from Tomomi. Thanks for an inspirational talk. Luxury and modest, the interpretation of both words are now more and more decentralizing and diverse. What is luxury for you? What is modest to you?
Oh, luxury for me is the opposite of fast fashion. So luxury is great fabrics, great thought process behind it, things being made well, not costing a few pence to be made. Luxury is paying your pattern cutters, paying your seamstresses a decent wage, you know, paying them well. And luxury, especially in terms of SABIRAH, is that you may have to wait a while to get your piece because it's being made that well, you know, and that also, I think that another thing which I think is very luxurious is to have something which totally fits you properly. So we also offer virtual sizing, whereby, you know, we will get your size right for your piece, to make sure that, you know, it fits you well. And what was the other bit of the question? Luxury and modesty. What is modesty?
Yeah, what's luxury and what does it mean modest to you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and the same, modesty means something different to so many different people. For me, modesty is, it's not only just in the way that you dress, it's also in your being as well. So, of course, for me, modesty means that, you know, I you know, cover my body, that, you know, things are not skin tight. I do believe in flattering the figure, but I don't believe it being skin tight. But modesty is also being kind, being nice, you know, having those sort of things celebrated as well.
Deborah?
Oh, yes.
One last question from Nicola Tosic. Can fashion design be open design, listening more to outside stakeholders like customers and not industry experts?
I think that we do. I think that fashion designers do listen to customers. I think that if you didn't listen to your customer, then you wouldn't be able to sell anything. I think that it's very important to listen to your customer. I think to be honest, they both go hand in hand. I think that fashion needs press, and so that you can have awareness. But I think that also it's equally important to know your customer and understand your customer so that you are able to cater for them properly. I hope that answers that question.
Thank you, Deborah. Again, really inspiring, really inspiring. Thank you for joining us, and thank you everyone, all the attendees, all the person that are following us also on Facebook page. We are working for you. So I anticipate that on May 26th, there's going to be another lecture, another webinar from Carlos Casas. And well, if you want to stay updated with our activities, please join our newsletter. And again, thank you, Deborah, and see you next time. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye-bye.